Are you struggling against bruisers who are just going to get on top of you and demolish your champion in a matter of seconds? Are you struggling against high mobility champions that are dashing around 1000 times before they get rid of you? Well, here I present to you the perfect counter pick, the most annoying champion on the top lane called Zilean, a matchup where the enemy won't be able to touch you. To be honest, you should be put into jail when you decide to play this champion on this lane, and here is why. At level 1, Zilean is going to purchase 3 corrupting potions, which is perfect since we are going to lose quite a lot of mana and probably some HP. The first ability we are going to unlock would be the Q spell, which is the perfect poking tool combined with Zilean's auto attacks. Just throw it on the enemy and it will deal some damage after 3 seconds. But be aware to keep enough distance towards these melee champions, since when you get caught once, it's basically over. At least at this stage of the game. Just try to get enough farm and poke the enemy down. But you will have some mana problem if you keep spamming the Q spell, so make sure to only use this spell when you are sure that they are going to hit. So make sure to buy a tier when you go back to base. At level 2, Zilean can make use of the W spell, which basically reduces the cooldown of the Q and the E spell by 10 seconds. So now you can throw 2 bombs instead of 1, and this allows Zilean to make use of the double stun bomb. When you manage to throw a second bomb on top of the first bomb, you can stun everything standing inside the detonation area, which makes it a bit harder for the enemy to reach you since Zilean can keep them at distance by just stunning him with a double boom. But the most annoying spell hasn't been unlocked yet. The spell that guarantees that your laning opponent won't have any kind of fun at all. It's the E spell called Time Warp, which is a point and click spell, and has the ability to slow your opponent by 40% or grant Zilean or an ally with 40% movement speed. But what could be so annoying when you get slowed that hard? Well, most enemy top laner need to get on top of you in order to deal some damage, and if they can't, they just get poked down. Especially champions like Darius, where his kit doesn't provide him with any kind of dashes, have a very predictable engage. As soon as he starts walking towards you, Zilean only has to throw a bomb on him and use the E spell to slow him. After that, make use of the W spell in order to get rid of the cooldown and make use of the second bomb, which is easier to hit since the Darius is slowed. This is Zilean's maximized damage output, and the stun allows you to throw some more auto attacks. And now your E spell must be up again, which can be used to slow him again when he suddenly gets a little bit too close. Or just use the slow at the beginning of the combo so it gets easier to hit both bombs, and the enemy has no chance to reach you. But the problem is, when you are playing a champion that is harassing his opponent too much, the wave is permanently pushed towards the enemy, which also happens because of the bomb that deals AoE damage, and this allows the enemy jungler to gank your lane. Luckily, Zilean has the perfect escape tool with his E spell, but you need to be aware when to use the movement speed buff and when you want to make use of the slow. When you spot the enemy gank attempt on time, you should buff yourself in order to increase the distance so the enemy can't even make use of their abilities. When they are already in your slow range, it's always better to debuff them because they always might use a summoner spell, activate a rune or an item. And when your jungler comes for a gank, you can easily support them by speed buffing them and make it thus easier to reach the laning opponent. Or you bait them into combat and just slow them into the ground and support your jungler with some bombs, since they can also be placed on your teammates, which allows them to collect kills for you. Things are already annoying enough, but it doesn't get better when this champion unlocks his ultimate. It's the Guardian Angel that can be put on himself or any ally of his choice and is a simple point and click spell. The resurrection effect lasts for 5 seconds, and when you get killed during that time, Zilean respawns with 600 HP after 3 seconds. And this can be really annoying since even when the enemy top laner somehow manages to get on top of Zilean and make use of all his abilities and summoner spells, he still can't collect the 300 gold, and just wasted all of that. Now Zilean gets most of the HP back and can now strike back. Or you call it a day and take the trade you have just won. Some of them even forget that Zilean might have his ult up and try to all-in on him while he is standing under his own turret, which is one of the stupidest idea you might have. It even allows Zilean to survive a gank and just run away after the resurrection when the enemies don't have any abilities up yet. But make sure to use the ultimate as late as possible, since most enemies will stop attacking you when they see these things spinning around you. The late game task with Zilean top is quite simple, just play like a supporter. When the enemy tries to charge in your team at full speed, just slow them with the E spell that has a slow of 99% at this stage of the game, or increase the speed of an ally to save them or to help them during an engage. And you should especially stay next to your hyper carry in order to revive him and support him with more movement speed, so that he can wipe out the enemy team in a few seconds. And use the double bomb in order to catch several enemies and allow your teammates to easily engage on them. Max out the Q spell first, followed by the E spell, and last but not least max out the W spell, which allows you to spam the E spell throughout the whole late game. Here are the build and runes for Zilean top. But if you want to play a lane dominant top laner that is also annoying as hell but is immortal and counters any top laner with the ultimate, click on this video right here.